So this video is to help you think about different industries, different sectors of industries, different career paths, different jobs that you can take with your automotive repair skills or, your fixing car skills, right? That's what we're talking about. Your fixing car skills. How are they transferable into other jobs? What other jobs are they transferable into? What might be some of the benefits or disadvantages of these jobs versus the job that you're in, okay? So that's kind of what this video is about. We're talking about different ways to make money, different career paths, different things that you can do or transition into or transition from. A lot of these jobs are kind of interchangeable with skills. They may need different licenses or certifications or maybe some specific training to do what they do. But the job type, it's a mechanical, it's a blue collar type job. They're easily transferable. They have a lot of transferable skills. So I think these are 10 jobs that are related, that are awesome alternatives for people who are mechanics or wanted to be mechanics or thought they were going to be great mechanics and just turned out to not like it. Here are some alternatives for you. I hope you guys like the video. Check it out. Now, you may be asking, well, Nick, what do you know about anything? What do you know? I was an automotive, AAC certified technician for a dealership for 5 years, worked at an independent shop for 3 years. I am now out of the automotive industry altogether, but I still have friends who do these jobs, people I know do these jobs, I used to do these jobs, etc. Okay? These are very respectable ways to make a living, and you would be happy doing any of these jobs if the job fit is right for you. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, the first one we're going to be talking about is if you are, say, at a dealership or an independent shop and you are tired of working on the commission pay. You're tired of being flat rate, blah, blah, blah. You want a hourly or a salary position, but you still love working on cars. Chanel, if you knock that ladder over, so help me. What are you doing, dog? You getting stuck? Yeah. Goober. Anyways, I have both my dogs in the garage hanging out with me because they're bad in the house by themselves, okay? Anyways, so we're talking about fleet mechanics, right? This is your FedEx, your UPS, your police department, your fire department, large corporations like, say, Coca-Cola or Frito-Lay or somebody who has a large quantity of vehicles that need service. The benefit to this job is it's typically an hourly or a salary paid position, and they have positions all the way from entry level. You just got out of high school, maybe you just got out of tech school, you have experience at like a tire shop, right? They have an entry level position, and they can go all the way up to like a master technician where you're making, 70, 80 plus a year. So this is a great job. The benefits are usually really good because, like I said, it's for like a local government, like the police department or the local municipality, or it's a very large corporation like Coca-Cola, Frito, blah, blah, blah. So they typically have pretty good benefits like 401k, insurance, etc., right? So this is definitely a good thing to think about if you still want to work on cars or semis or box trucks or whatever you want to work on. It's a great place to be, okay? Fleet, awesome job, consistent pay, you have ways to go up. It's a great place to be. The job security is usually very good. Awesome place, genre to work in, okay? Next up, we're gonna have, if you are currently at an automotive dealership, maybe you're getting a little bit older in age, or you don't wanna get older in age and be one of those people who can't walk because your knees are hurting all the time and your hands hurt all the time. You wanna get out of fixing cars before your body takes too much of a toll, right? Service writer may be an awesome thing for you to do. They typically make very good money. They work at the same places you work at, obviously. You probably have one. The problem with this job is typically having to be the middleman all the time. So you're having to talk to the angry customers because no customer's happy going into a dealership or independent repair shop, I promise. Nobody wants to have to go spend money to get their car back on the road. I promise nobody wants to do that, right? So they are always dealing with angry customers, getting yelled at, talked down to, whatever they have to deal with. And then they're getting crap talked to them by you because you're like, why didn't you sell that job? Why didn't you sell that ticket at 4 hours? Why'd you sell it for 3 hours? Blah, blah, blah. So there's crap you take from all sides being a service writer. However, there is a breed of people who fit right into that genre of work, right? Obviously, because we have them. All of the service writers I know, I've been very lucky to be able to know. They're great people, they're great friends, they're great co-workers, they're great dads, husbands, etc. They're good people. I know not all service writers are like that, so you may be already typing in the comments, my service writer's an idiot, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't know his elbow from his butthole, blah, blah, blah. I get it. There's bad people in everything, right? There's bad technicians, there's bad firefighters. There's probably not bad firefighters, but you get what I'm saying. There's somebody in that job who's not good at that job. It just is what it is, okay? But if you think you can be customer service minded, talk to customers, talk to technicians, be the perfect middleman, service writer might be a great place for you to be. Typically, they make pretty good money, typically over $100,000 a year. So if you're just after money and you can deal with all of that stress and people coming at you from both ends, might be the perfect thing for you. Third on the list is kind of like a 3 for, a 4 for, a 5, whatever. There's a lot of opportunities that you can do with this style of work. Well, it's like 105 degrees in Texas. It's hot, okay? I'm dying. I'm fat. It's hot. I'm in the garage, but I'm sweaty. It's a problem. Like I was saying, the third thing on our list is very open to interpretation. You can do a whole bunch of different things with this line of work. We're talking automotive photographer. Now, before you just think, oh, I don't want to take pictures, I'm not good at taking pictures. Well, that's not necessarily the only thing we're talking about. While yes, you could be an actual photographer, right, and take pictures of new cars, used cars, the racers and the swalos in the park who want pictures for their Instagram. You could do those type of pictures. Yes, that is what people typically think about when they hear photographer, right? A photographer. And then there's like insurance claims adjuster, aftermarket warranty claims adjuster. There's this side of photography where you're just going to take pictures of a crashed bumper, a crashed car, or a broken engine, an exploded rear differential. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can just use a camera to make money. Now, typically the adjusters are employees, right? They work for State Farm, or they work for this insurance company or that warranty company or blah, blah, blah. But if you wanted to take the contractor route, obviously you could do regular photography. You could do YouTube, videography. You could take videos for car clubs in your area, pictures for car clubs in your area. Be a photographer for a dealership or an aftermarket shop, right? A lot of these people are moving towards social media and marketing and stuff like that. So say you have a really awesome performance shop in your area. You could approach them and say, hey, let me take a picture of your shop car. Let me video this dyno run of this cool car, or let me do pictures of your technicians for your Facebook, or blah, blah, blah. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can make money with the camera, both contractor or independent style, or actually working for a company, right? So that's something to think about if you have a creative mindset. If you already have a camera, you could just start going to dealerships and asking, hey, who does your pictures? Do you need a photographer? How can I help you? Stuff like that, right? So there's a whole bunch of different things that you can do with just the camera and willpower, right? They don't want fancy editing. They don't want fancy angles or a crap ton of bokeh. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. They typically just want a picture of the car, a picture of this side of the car, a picture of the inside of the car. Typically, it's pretty easy work, and they usually pay decent, right? Whatever they pay. But it's like an independent style job. So if you have the entrepreneurial mindset, that's a hard word for me to say. Entrepreneurial mindset, that's a great thing to do. Automotive photographer, you could do it on the side while you're being a claims adjuster. You get what I'm saying, right? I've spent way too much time on that one. Moving on. Number 4. This is also kind of like a 3 for, a 4 for, whatever. We're going to kind of lump some things together, okay? So we're talking pumps, like an irrigation pump or a well pump, irrigation motors, generators, maybe welders. There's a whole bunch of could be small engines, could be huge 15-liter Cummins, I don't know the big engines, but could be huge big engines, could be smaller engines. I know a couple of people who have done very similar work. They worked for an engine manufacturer, right, that sold diesel engines to to people to use for irrigation pumps or generators or whatever they were going to use them for. That's what they used them for. And he had his own service truck filled with tools, and he had a list of things he needed to do, right? Whether it be maintenance or actual repairs or replacements or whatever. So he would get a call from his boss, say, hey, you need to go fix this. This needs an oil change. This needs that. This needs that. We need to get it done in 2 weeks for all of this stuff. And it could be 20 minutes down the road, could be 400 miles down the road this way. You service a large area, or at least in my area, you can service a very large geographical area. So if you like being on the road, not necessarily having to go overnight like, you know, some oil rig workers do or welders do, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about living on the road, but leaving from your house, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, driving there, fixing what needs fixed, driving back home for the night, right? Could have really long days, could have really short days, could have days where you do nothing. It just kind of all depends on where you actually work and how busy you are, if that makes sense. But typically have good benefits. You're getting to see your area, getting to drive around a lot. That's pretty cool. You get your own service truck. That's pretty cool. And you're just working on engines all the time. So the work can be easily obtained, easily learned, easily repeatable, right? Does that make sense? You're not working on a Chevy, then a Honda, then a Hyundai, then a Mercedes, right? You're working on blah, blah engine, blah, blah engine, 454 big block, 454 big block. You get a big block, you get a big block, you get a big block. You see what I'm saying? You're working on a type of engine, typically. That's what he did. You get my drift? You get my drift. You're fixing engines that are used in a wide variety of things. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, moving on. Now this one is probably the closest. This is a bridge, right, between the job I just talked about, being on the road, and being in a shop. You can kind of pick and choose where you go depending on either who you work for or what area of the company you work for, blah, blah, blah. We're talking about forklifts or heavy equipment or something along those lines, right? So we're talking bulldozers, front end loaders, maybe tractors, forklifts, equipment is what we're talking about, okay? So you could have a service truck and go service this farmer whose tractor broke down, that construction company whose front end loader broke down, these people who that broke down, or you work in a shop where the equipment comes to you, you fix it in the shop, it leaves similar to a car dealership. Typically these pay pretty good. They're usually like again, like an hourly or a salary type position. Sometimes they can be commission, but usually it's an hourly or a salary type position. You clock in when you're on the road, clock out when you get home. Definitely another option to think about if you're just wanting to get out of cars or out of the dealership, or if you're just looking for options, this is a good option. Next on the list is a weird one. I don't know anybody who's done this. So I typed in technician on Indeed just to see what came up. I had a pretty good list, but I wanted some extras on there. If that makes sense. And this is an extra, and it's weird and it's cool, and I wish I would have known about it at one point in my life, if that makes sense. It would be a cool job, a fun job, I think. It interests me. And it's fixing medical equipment. So X-ray machines, MRI machines, medical equipment. I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but you're fixing medical equipment. I saw quite a few companies hiring for this, and all they wanted was mechanical experience, right? It's not like they expect you to know how to fix their X-ray machine when they're the only people who make their X-ray machine, and they're the only people who service it, right? So they just want you to know how to fix things, and they will teach you how to fix their things. So it's not necessarily well, I don't know how to fix medical equipment. Okay. Do you know how to fix stuff? Are you smart? Can you use your brain? Can you use tools? Great. Perfect candidate for that, okay? I think it would be a really fun job to be able to go into hospitals and fix medical equipment and get to see all of this amazing stuff and work on multi-million-dollar machines. That'd be pretty cool in my opinion. And the pay, again, ranged. I saw some that were an entry-level, like trainee type position that made, 15 to 20 bucks an hour. And then I saw, experienced medical equipment technicians who are making over $100,000 a year. So definitely room to move up. Definitely cool work. Something cool to do. Different than cars. You're not going home dirty and covered in oil and blah, blah, blah. It's probably a pretty clean environment to work in. Definitely something to consider if you're wanting to kind of get out of the blue collar repair world, I guess. I don't see that as blue collar, but I could be wrong. Could be totally different than what I'm thinking about. Anyways, moving on. This is kind of the same, kind of different. We're talking commercial appliance repair and residential appliance repair. So washers, dryers, stoves, dishwashers, coolers, vending machines, stuff, okay, over here. I know a couple of people who worked for like refrigeration people, whether they fixed refrigeration units on semi-trailers, you know, for like transporting cold stuff, or coolers in your local grocery store, or in vending machines, or displays, stuff like that. They were kind of sort of just refrigeration technicians for commercial businesses. Does that make sense? And then over here, obviously you have washers, dryers, stoves, residential appliance repair, right? This one doesn't pay as much as this one. Typically the residential is more of a less skilled job, and they typically pay less than like a commercial HVAC repair person, right? Definitely both are obtainable. If you're looking hard at your job searches, you can definitely find a commercial repair technician job, right? They're out there. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of different companies you can work for, whether it be like a local one or, like I said, semi-trailers or vending machines or large commercial freezers. There's a whole bunch of options that you can choose from over here, right? I don't have a lot to say about the appliance repair, commercial, industrial appliance repair. I don't have a lot to say because I don't know anybody who's done it, okay? But it's something I saw. I think it would be a good job. The pay seems pretty good on both ends. Like I said, lesser on the residential side, much more on the commercial side. Definitely something to think about, something to look into in your area if you're interested. Now the next one I think would also be fun, depending on where you're at, right? So if you are in a extremely urban area, you may have a totally different line of work than somebody who's in a very rural area, right? So we're talking motorcycle power sports technicians. If you're in a big city, you know, working on motorcycles, you may see a lot of sport bikes, may see a couple Harleys, see a lot of electric bikes, stuff like that as we move on into the future. If you're more in a rural area, you're gonna see side-by-sides, four-wheelers, dirt bikes, stuff like that. So it kind of depends on what geographic location you kind of are working in, but I think it would be a fun job to do, working on motorcycles, dirt bikes, four-wheelers, side-by-sides. There's a bunch of things that you can work on in this style of like a power sports technician, right? So that's something to think about. You could work for an actual manufacturer similar to a dealership like a Harley Davidson or a Honda, a Yamaha, etc. You can work in a more independent space. You can open up your own shop. There's a bunch of options that you can do while working on like power sports or motorcycles. Next one on the list, aftermarket shop. This is what I actually did right before I left the automotive industry as a whole. So we did lift kits, leveling kits, light bars, bumpers, winches, underglow, seat covers, actual leather installation, heated seats, aftermarket radios, subwoofers. You name it aftermarket, we did it. Aside from like camshafts and superchargers and stuff like that, we didn't do any of that. We had a dyno, but we didn't use it a whole lot. Most of what we did was, like I said, lift kits, bumpers, lights, all of that stuff. It was a great place to work at. That's by far the best boss I've ever had. The most fun I've ever had at work. Great people to work with. The jobs were fun. We got to do cool stuff. I got a lot of experience for the future when I go to, you know, build my own truck or whatever I want to do on my own stuff. I know how to pretty much do any aftermarket installation that there is. So that's a benefit to me. It was a lot of fun working there. I had a great time. I made decent money. It was a great place to be. Now, in addition to the lift kits or, you know, the bumpers, winches, blah, 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 you also have the performance sector. And you have this for cars, motorcycles, power sports, whatever. Whether it be a turbo on a Harley or a supercharger on a Corvette or a camshaft and some LS motor somebody swapped into something. There's a whole bunch of things that you could do on the performance aspect, like performance engines, performance transmissions, etc., lift kits, suspension, lights, etc. You get the drift. So there's kind of two different ways that you can go. Both usually pay pretty good. Both are fun lines of work. Both have great customers. I compare it, anytime somebody asks like, well, how did you like working at an aftermarket shop compared to the dealership? The customers were the best part of working at an aftermarket shop. I always explained it like this. The dealership, the repair shops are Walmart. People hate Walmart. You have to go there. You have to go get groceries. You have to spend all of this money on stuff that you have to have, right? You have to go fix your car. If you don't fix your car, you're not going to work, right? You have to buy new tires. You have to do your oil change. There are things that you have to do. And sometimes it gets really expensive and people don't like being there. This part, the automotive repair, sucks for the customers. They're having to spend money. They have to repair this to be able to get to work on time. They have to do this, right? And then the aftermarket shop, whether it be performance or, like I said, the lift kits, bumpers, wheels, tires, etc., these are the get-to people. These are, I get a snow cone. I get ice cream. I get a lift kit on my Jeep. I get a new bumper for my truck. I get a light bar. I get a new sound system. These customers are usually really awesome people. They're super happy to be there. They're willing to help you in any way, shape, or form on deciding what they want or, budgets. They're usually pretty good about budgets. These are the people who want to spend money, who like to spend money, who will spend money. These are the people who are going to nickel and dime you, not want to be there, try to get the best deal. And I totally understand. I'm not talking bad about customers who try to get the best deal or shop around or etc. Right? I get it. It costs money. It's expensive a lot of times. It's not a fun thing to have to do. This is a fun thing to get to do. So that's the biggest difference that I usually tell people when working for an aftermarket shop or a repair shop. Those two things. I was commissioned at both of the ones that I worked at. You could be hourly or a salary type position here. I made better money at the automotive shop than I did at the dealership. Better people at the automotive shop, better customers, better management, smaller group of people, larger group of people you work with. It just kind of depends on where you're at, where you're comfortable, what you want to do. Now, the last thing I have on my list are HVAC technicians. We're talking heating and air conditioning, right? Mike's HVAC, Jerry's heating and air, right? Those type of people who work on the AC compressors and coils outside or the blowers or the ducting, stuff like that. It's usually a mechanical type job, right? Because you're just doing refrigeration. You're installing ducts, you're installing blowers, you're doing a little bit of electrical work. It's nothing you haven't done on cars if you're in the automotive dealership world, right? You've done condensers, compressors, evaporators. You've done all of those things. They're just on a car, not on a house. So it's really very similar work and completely different work at the same time. The theory of it's the same, right? You're dealing with pressures and refrigerant and compressing it and then expanding it and it's cooling the evaporator and blah, 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 and the blower motor's blowing over it. I mean, it's the same theory. It's the same type of machine, right? It's an AC system. However, like I said, it's in a house. You're dealing with different electricity, different kind of duct work. Your ducts aren't, this big going from your dash up here to your face. They're, huge and they're running from this end of your house to the other end. So this is an option. Typically you have to go to school for this because even if you have HVAC experience on cars and you have I had my refrigeration license to work on cars, but it was just for automotive refrigeration. So I could buy automotive refrigeration, couldn't buy commercial or residential refrigeration. They're different, okay? So typically this has a different set of licenses or certifications that you have to have in order to be able to do this type of work. However, if you have the experience over here, you can kind of walk onto a job like that, not making top tier HVAC guy money, but you're still making a living, right? So this is great if you're a younger person who you thought working on cars would be the best thing in the world, but now you don't want to work on cars. This is something else for you to try. You might love it, you might not like it, that's okay. But I do know some HVAC people who make well over $200,000 a year owning their own business. I know people who make over $125,000 to $150,000 a year just being a technician for a company. So there's definitely money to be made. I'm not gonna say it's easy work, because it's not. You're in an attic, it's 120 degrees outside, or it's 10 degrees outside, and you're fixing somebody's AC or heater, right? So it's not necessarily easy work, but the physical work is repeatable, right? You're working on one type of thing. So like on a car, you're working on suspensions, transmissions, engines, AC systems, electrical systems, blah, blah, blah. On the HVAC side, you're really just working on the refrigeration side and maybe some electrical side. So there's a whole lot less to it, but there's more to that, right? You have your compressor and your coil outside and your evaporator inside, and you have ductwork all through the attic and your thermostat. There's a lot to it and less to it at the same time. Anyways, I hope this made some kind of sense to you. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like it, please subscribe, comment down below, tell me any other jobs that you might be thinking about going into or things you have suggestions on. The whole point of this video is to help people become better versions of themselves. Say they're making this much money and they want to make more money. We're trying to help everybody get better, right? I want this community to be a community of helping people, of lifting each other up, working together to get problems solved, right? I'm not trying to tear anybody down. I don't want anybody tearing anybody else down. I want to try to help everybody be the best versions of themselves that they can be.